Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope y'all have had a great Tuesday. Hope y'all are having a great work week so far. In this video, we're really going to break down the pattern going forward. We're pretty much in the mid part of September, cruising on through the year, almost to October already. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit about the pattern, what to really expect the rest of the week and going into the next week. Is there any cold fronts in sight? Is there anything, fall air to look forward to? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to break down the tropics and talk about 95L and a little bit about 96L. 95L has the chance to be a long-lived tropical system in the Atlantic. Does it have any impacts to the U.S. or the Caribbean islands down the road? We're going to talk a little bit about that and talk about what we know. But if you guys have not subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button, like the video if you'd like it. Also, I'd like to mention, if you guys would like to join my channel, it's just an opportunity to support what I do and just to donate a little bit. I don't have any perks or anything right now, but it's just a way to give a little bit monthly to what I do to try to make my system better, try to make my presentation better for you guys. So thank y'all for the people who have done that. There's been a couple of y'all, and it's much appreciated. And anybody else who's given on my PayPal and my bio. So thank y'all for the amazing support. It's much appreciated. Sorry about the low energy tonight. I am exhausted. I wake up at about 4:30 every morning, but tonight for some reason it is hitting me a little extra hard. So going to try to keep my energy level high for you guys. But thank y'all for tuning in tonight, and let's get it rocking here. So right now, let's take a look at the entire Atlantic Basin. Right here is what's left over of Nicholas. It just got downgraded just now to a tropical depression. So it's been a tropical storm all day until right now. Now it's a 35-mile-per-hour tropical depression. Nicholas, you have 95L right up here. Right now, it's not looking that great. It looks like diurnal minimum is kind of hitting it hard, and that's basically where temperatures in the air and the temperatures on the sea surface basically are around the same. So basically, when you have a big difference in between the two as far as air temperature and sea surface temperatures, then that can provide a little bit more convection. But right now is when the comparison between the two is the littlest. Therefore, you're not having much convective explosions right now with it. It's still, a pretty weak tropical wave right now. Then you have 96L that has a chance to do some odd things. There's been some weird guidance with this, especially the European today. The European threw a real oddball with this. And has it looping around, doing some crazy stuff. I want to mention before we get deep into this video that the models are all over the place with both of these systems, especially 95L. They cannot figure out what it's going to do. This is going to end up being Tropical Storm Odette and probably Hurricane Odette. But what it's going to do in the long term is going to be something we're going to be figuring out over the next probably as much as 2 weeks, guys. So a lot to figure out, but we're going to continue to mention it because it does have the potential on down the road to, who knows, affect the U.S. We'll watch it. But look out Nicholas right now. I love showing this because usually when these weaker tropical systems that are already, and this made it to a hurricane status overnight last night. And from what I hear, the chasers who did chase this, this had I think somebody recorded a 90-something mile-per-hour wind gust, which is into Category 2 stage. So this thing packed a punch for areas around Houston. I hope you are faring well this evening. But right now, it's the whole entire low-level circulation is completely exposed just about. And it's pumping out all this convection over Louisiana. So I hope you are doing all right this evening into Mississippi. Y'all are definitely getting hammered with all this convection we've been talking about that's on the east side of the circulation. But check out this nice little swirl. Looks like a cinnamon bun almost right here. And that is basically because, like I said, the low-level circulation is exposed because the mid-level circulation has been pretty much shredded from shear and dry air up here, which we pretty much always thought all along here. Moving forward, we'll look at this. Sorry, guys, had to stop the video briefly. Apparently, my internet wants to act like it's dial-up this evening, so sorry about that. It's another reason why I want to upgrade my system, so that's another reason why occasionally I mention there's an opportunity for you to donate to try to just help trying to make my system a little bit better. It's always appreciated, it really is, but the growth has been amazing. I'm on a path to try to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So that's a big goal of mine, and it really looks obtainable at this point. But anyways, let's not get sidetracked from what we're here to talk about, which is the weather. So Right now, this is still a 90% chance to develop here in the next 5 days. This will eventually be Odette. And then you have this right here, this little system right here, which, Lord, my internet is slow right now. This has increased a little bit as a chance to develop here. And then you have Nicholas, which is downgraded to a tropical depression. It looks like the National Hurricane Center site is lagging a little bit, and it hasn't updated each little area very well. But going forward here, you look at the latest long-range HRRR model here, and going forward, you notice the center of the storm's right here, but check out all this convection overnight, moving into southern areas of Mississippi, moving into areas of Alabama. It starts to lose some of its deep convection where you have these, solid downpours. But as you get into tomorrow afternoon, it starts to move into areas of Atlanta. And as early as tomorrow evening, could work its way into areas of South Carolina, North Carolina. And then it's probably just going to be a kind of a dreary day into Thursday. It'll be very humid. It's not going to be one of them fall, crisp, cloudy days by any means. It's going to just be a muggy day, probably in the low 80s, 70s across Georgia, the Carolinas, as you get into your Thursday, as what's left over of that tropical moisture begins to push into the region. One thing I want to mention is the temperatures. This is not good news for you fall lovers like me. Here in the next 6 to 10 days, this goes all the way to the 24th of September. The National Climate Center, the National Weather Service, the Climate Center, is forecasting well above average temperatures for the entire eastern U.S., especially from the mid-Atlantic to the northeast. So, no fall air in sight. You look to the 8 to 14 day range, which almost clears the rest of the month, well above average temperatures predicted. Now, the average for this time of the year, it all depends on where you're located. So here in South Carolina, the average this time of the year is in the mid to upper 80s. So, when you have temperatures around 90, 91, 92 degrees, that's considered above average, obviously. So definitely, normally when you see colder than average temperatures in Alaska and colder than average temperatures like you're seeing right here in the western U.S., you normally have warmer than average temperatures in the eastern U.S. That's normally how it works. When a trough digs out west, a ridge builds out east, and that's normally what happens. You look at this compared to temperatures going into Thursday. There'll be some rain-cooled air into the deep south. We're getting into Thursday right here. And these are high temperatures for Thursday. I know you're seeing here, well, it's only 60s and 70s for high temperatures. That's because it's rain-cooled air, guys. And it'll be warmer than this. But it's rain-cooled air. It's still very humid. It's not fall crisp air by any means. But going into Friday, it really starts to warm up. It's going to be a very hot weekend. One thing is the weekend doesn't look like a washout like it potentially could have been from 96L. But it really looks like a very hot weekend. A weekend typical of mid-September. Not necessarily average, but it can still get very hot in the southeast, even mid-Atlantic and the deep south in September. So definitely looking like warmer than average temperatures going on all the way until next week. But there is signs of a big-time trough that starts to make its way into the Midwest. And there'll be definitely a battlefield between air masses as we're maybe getting into the latter part of the month. So we got to figure out what kind of cold front is digging here. This is 9 to 10 days out. It's hard to take it serious this far out. So we're going to take a look, and let me see if I can get this right here. We're going to take a look at guidance. This is 95L, which when you flip back to right here, that's this system right here. It's kind of struggling at the moment, but as far as guidance, this is forecast to make the track across the tropical Atlantic. And as far as intensity guidance, most guidance here has this ramping up over the next 24 to 48 hours, potentially being Tropical Storm Odette by this weekend and continually strengthening. So most model intensity guidance here has this strengthening into a next named storm, which would be Odette. So look at the GFS. There's a lot of struggles on what's going to happen with this, and it's going to be kind of pointless to go into the same exact details every single video with this until, everybody doesn't want to hear the same thing over and over again. But pretty much looks to be the case through the weekend as we try to figure it out. Right now, this is the latest GFS with what will be Odette. Then you look at this piece of energy right here, and I'm starting this off Thursday morning. A 96L could get very close to bringing some tropical moisture up into the northeast. We'll have to see what happens here. especially with this ridge of high pressure. Is this going to try to push us into the northeast? Just not sure here. But this tries to get kind of on top of this ridge of high pressure, if you will. Tries to kind of push against it as it's pulling away. I'm talking about this ridge of high pressure. At the same time, you have Odette forming here, trying to strengthen and getting relatively south. That's why you still have to watch this system with the Caribbean islands. You get into about this time next week, and this thing is still trying to get across the Atlantic Ocean. But look how slow it's going. The steering currents really relax if this was to occur. And at this point, there's no point even going any further, because right here you have a Category 1, Category 2 hurricane trying to figure out what it wants to do. You look at the European. The European wants to pretty much drop what would be Odette and really wants to strengthen this 96L up here. Kind of does a loop-to-loop and really just gets lost in the currents here. In the meantime, it pretty much disappears 95L. Then it strengthens what will likely be 97L. There's a lot to figure out. Is there going to be some kind of ridge of high pressure here? You know, you look at this, you also have to talk about what will likely be some kind of tut or upper level low that's going to kind of bend here and cause some directional shear. This is going to probably mess with the strength of what could be Odette. But we don't know how much it's going to mess with it. The system's going to be crawling, it seems like, over the next few days. But we still got to really figure out what's going to happen with this. You look at the kind of the heights and anomalies here. What pattern do we have in place? Well, the system is right here. At this point, there's not really anything pushing it one way or the other. So that's why it's slowing down. The steering currents is really relaxing here. You have a ridge that's what's ultimately bringing the big-time heat wave next week for the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, building over the Northeast. And, yeah, so you have some kind of upper level, kind of cut-off load digging right here through that ridge. Will that pick up Odette? Not sure. So we do not know what the steering currents are going to be in place with Odette. So there is a ton to figure out with this. And I have a feeling we're not going to know anything until maybe late this coming weekend. So stay tuned. This is going to be an interesting one to watch. This one's got a lot of people kind of confused because it's just one that we're going to be talking about for a while. So thank y'all for the amazing support. I'll continue to keep y'all updated, and y'all have a great night.